You haven't seen Loki in over 2 days. At least you think it's been 2 days. It's kind of hard to tell. He's with his brothers, the twins tell you, and with the Velva and Scotty. There's a tiny flicker of jealousy in your chest at that, and it's easily drowned out by worry, because you can't imagine that Loki and Helblindi are off to a good start, at least as far as brotherly love goes. Gjalp seems relatively worried too. She leaves the sleigh to sprint ahead to check on things fairly often, and there are occasional long stretches where it's just you and Greip. "Hey, Greip?" you ask during one such occasion, feigning nonchalance as you flip through the pages of the book that Bylister had left for you. "Does Gjalp know about the whole, the kissing thing? And the mark?"
"She does. I thought it best to tell her, in case of any complications."
"Complications? What complications?" Your mind races, wildly chasing down a million different worst-case scenarios. Things you've seen in movies, read in stories, or conjectures based on your short time on Jotunheim. I'm not going to die or something if he doesn't bite me back, right? Or spontaneously combust if another guy touches me? Greip just gives you a strange look.
"Well, no, mortal. Of course not. But it is incredibly shameful for the king to have such a mark from a thrall, and particularly a human one, and especially for him to have acquired it while he is supposed to be courting a noble lady."
Oh, it's not magical? That doesn't fit well with the fact that it exists in the first place. There's no way that it should even be there if it isn't some kind of magic.
"Such things do not require satyr, if that is what you mean. If you were fully bonded, you would feel it. I do not know how to explain it, and obviously I have never experienced it for myself. You'd best be thankful that Illy has chosen to keep his distance." "We are taking a different route,"
Gjalp declares, shaking snow from her hair as she pulls the sleigh door closed behind her.
"Above the canyons. It will take us 3 more days, likely, but that is why we will not be stopping at our home again."
She doesn't seem to be overly bothered by the idea of not seeing her parents, and Greip looks downright relieved.
"This pace is mad. Will we be stopping soon to refresh? It is very harsh on the animals, and I do not want Hornbury and Vermuley to take injury." Is it that? Or are you truly more concerned with seeing the Seder Verandi? "Sister!"
Gjalp shrugs one shoulder, then settles cross-legged beside you.
"If you do wish to have words with him, you would be wise to do so before we reach Utgard. You heard father. Lady Skadi will ask the queen to begin looking for prospects for us. Besides, the Stormayatna are not likely to stay long in Utgard, unless King Loki wishes to cause even more strife with his father's court." "I have nothing to say to Rosbehoff."
Yeah, right. Just like I have nothing to say to Loki. As the sleigh rumbles along, there isn't much to focus on other than the fact that life sucks. How much longer can you think of this as a crazy adventure, rather than a "this is my life now" sort of scenario? Is time even passing the same way on Earth? God only knows how long you've actually been here. The authorities have probably already told your family that you're most likely dead. That thought turns your stomach. It helps to imagine how ecstatic everyone will be when you're finally home. If you ever get home. Bored and restless, you keep turning back to look at the picture of the mortal woman in the Annals of Vedrungr. Vif, wasn't it? You wonder what ended up happening to her, It was probably nothing good, considering she must have spent enough time around the giants for one of them to paint her. Did she die young? Stretching, you grimace. Your back aches, and your muscles are stiff. Stupid Loki, you think, massaging your neck. Screw him, leaving me here like this. He's probably cuddled up with Scotty. That insidious bit of jealousy trickles through your veins, stronger than you must have expected. Calm down, dude, you think. But even though you tell yourself that there's no good reason for you to feel so angry, you can't seem to help it. The mental image of anyone else touching him.
In Unga? Are you well?
Gjalp says, a hint of worry in her voice. Startled from your sudden temper, you realize that you've got a white-knuckled grip on your book. You probably look like a maniac, glaring off into space. Sorry, I was just thinking about things with the king. The twins exchange a look. And it's really cold, you hurry to add, hoping that it's a better excuse for why you're so miserable. The magic to keep me warm is wearing off a little bit, I think. It's been days since the last time he fixed it.
I will let him know when we have stopped. It should not be long now, I think. Will you be able to manage until then?
Yeah, I guess so. When Greip wakes you up, the caravan must have already been stopped for a little while, because there's a few large fires already crackling along on the rocky ground outside of the sleigh. It isn't snowing, which is a blessing, though the wind is cold and bitter. What makes these rocks so blue? You wonder, grimacing up at the tall, precarious-looking spires that seem like they might crack and crush you all at a moment's notice.
Over here,
Greip says, and it doesn't escape your notice that she leads you to a different campfire than the one the Storm Twins are already sitting at. The ground is slippery, and you feel like a newborn deer as you cross the icy ground on shaking legs. There are a few small stone huts nestled at the base of some of the spires, and giants are coming and going through the open doorways. You don't see Loki. Greip gets you settled onto a log by the fire, then drags a few blankets out of the sleigh, wrapping them around you with careful precision. It's sweet. It's the sort of little thing that makes you feel like the twins genuinely care. Your eyes almost tear up a little. Damn, why am I getting so emotional? Stew seems to be a pretty popular dish on Jotunheim, and a metal pot is brought out from one of the huts and hung up over the fire. You try not to pay too much attention to the ingredients that are dumped into it. It's probably best not to know, and you really can't forget the face of the sea serpent that was spread out on the banquet hall back in Utgard. Could be worse. I could have run into one of those things while it was still alive. The other giants who settle in around your cooking fire are all from the Forest Giant clan. You're getting better and better at distinguishing all of the subtle variations as the days pass. Even their eyes have more shades than you really anticipated. Initially, you'd be too freaked out just by the concept of red eyes to notice all of the different hues. Greip and Gjalp's eyes are really more of a maroon, while Loki's are more of a straight crimson when he's in full-out Jotun form. The super pale hair is still a mystery, though. So far, you haven't seen anyone other than the Valva and the Storm Twins with white hair, other than the Witch King in your book. Maybe it's just a storm giant thing, though none of the other giants traveling with them have it, and you're assuming they're all from the same clan. The storm giants seem pretty merry, even though it's been evident from the beginning that most of the court doesn't want to have them around. In fact, they're laughing and talking loudly enough that you can hear them from where you're sitting, even though you can't make out any of it. It almost sounds like they're speaking in rhyme. Gjalp notices you looking over your shoulder.
They are flighting. Is this done on Midgard?
That's the insult thing, right? She looks like she's holding back laughter, so you guess you must sound pretty unsophisticated.
It is. It is a poetic duel. You should ask your master, for Loki Omstanga is called so, in part, due to his sharpness when flighting.
I think that used to be a thing on Earth, a long time ago. Now we just have rap battles.
Rap?
It's a kind of music. Hey, did you mention to the king that I'm freezing? It's getting pretty bad, even with the fire and blankets and everything.
He is hidden away in some discussion with the princes. I left a message with one of Lady Skadi's thralls. I am certain that he will come to you soon in Unga.
She says, pointing towards one of the huts. Oh, okay.
Here, eat. It will make you feel better.
The smile she gives you as she hands you a wooden bowl is encouraging, and you try to return it, even though you're shivering and kind of pissed off at Loki's continued absence. And she's right. The stew is hot and salty, and it does help a little bit. Some of the giants around the fire are chanting, but the mood is genuinely subdued. Is it because you left so abruptly from the forests? In contrast, the giants at the fire behind you are clapping, and while Greip seems determined to ignore the commotion, you can't help but turn and look. Frostyhoff has pulled out what appears to be some kind of stringed instrument from somewhere, taking his place at the center of the storm giant fire ring with an exaggerated bow. Whatever the instrument is, he tucks it under his chin and draws his bow across the strings, and you notice a few more of the giants at your own circle have turned to watch him. He plays for a moment or two. You're a little surprised that he's actually good at it, and then he starts to sing. His voice is nice, and has a playful sort of lilt to it. And a few of the storm giants laugh when he presses his hand to his heart, reveling in overdramatics, and Hador is grinning. "What are the words to the song?" you whisper.
I do not know. It is some tribal tongue.
Greip is frowning, but she finally turns around to look. Frostyhoff begins to play the tune again on the thing that you're just going to go ahead and call a fiddle, and then he glances up and winks in your general direction. When he starts to sing again, it's in a language that you can understand, and judging by the lavender blush on Greip's cheeks, so can she.
A beauty walks in shadow 'neath the forest's snowy boughs. Oh, lead my love to seashores far, where we may take our vows. May the Norns guide her to Rome, to her lover far from home. I know that I can win her heart, oh Lofin, show me how.
Laughing, he bows to the audience of his fire circle, and even some of the giants from the other circles join in with a few scattered cheers. Jesus, this guy isn't exactly being subtle. Though maybe it's just because you know where to look, it doesn't seem like anyone else has noticed the slightly stricken look on Greip's face, except for you and maybe her sister. The Norns are like the Fates, right? But who is Lofin? You ask, your voice still hushed. You jump as a hand comes to rest on your head, and it's Loki's voice that answers.
An Alcinia, the Asgardian goddess of forbidden love. An interesting choice to invoke.
His voice is fine, but his verses are poor,
Greip declares. Abruptly, she stands and stalks off, and Gjalp seems torn between running after her and keeping an eye on you. Loki is still standing behind you, his hand on your head. You're really tempted to smack him away.
Don't let your sister wander off. We will be leaving here soon.
She hesitates for a second, then nods and hurries after Greip, and you're left alone with a bunch of unfriendly giants who don't really know you and him. Can he tell how mad you are? How hurt? Part of you really hopes so, even if it's petty.
Come, I will restore your charm.
You push yourself to your feet and follow him behind one of the sleighs, just slightly out of view for most of the camp. Even though you can feel his gaze on your face, you stubbornly keep your eyes locked to his chest, even when he brushes his knuckles against your cheek. The magic sparks and causes you to shiver. At least you hope it's just his magic. You do feel warmer, though.
You're cold?
Of course, sire. Sighing, he slides his hand to your neck, and the warmth increases. Guess he's getting his powers back then. As frustrated as you are with him, you're also a little annoyed that he isn't dragging you off to the sleigh to cuddle up. Maybe he's getting enough attention from Scotty. He's still got his neck covered. Has she seen it? Has anyone else? The fact that he's basically got your teeth branded on him makes you feel weirdly possessive, almost proud, if you're being completely honest with yourself, and maybe even a little smug. Huh. Did not realize I was into that. You think, startled by the realization.
Are you feeling well? Look at me, mortal.
I don't want to. You whisper, wrapping your arms around yourself. You expect that he'll tilt your chin up and make you look at him, like he's done so many times before, but he doesn't. In fact, Loki doesn't say anything at all. The warmth spreads across your skin and seeps into your bones like a warm, cozy blanket, shielding you from the cold wind. Somehow, though, it doesn't even come close to matching the heat that you feel when he's wrapped around you. There's a lump in your throat. Are you coming back to our sleigh? You ask, your voice hushed in the hopes that no one else will hear. Loki flinches, barely, but you feel it all the same.
No.
You hang your head, and his hand drops away from your skin. The magic worked. You're warm again, but you'd almost rather feel the cold. It fits better with your mood.
Go back to the fire. Stay with the twins. We will reach Utgard soon. 3 days, 4 at most.
Nodding, you turn away, wondering why your chest suddenly feels so hollow.
Mortal,
You freeze in your tracks, but you don't look back.
it's for the best.
If only you believed him. The caravan barely makes any other stops on the way back, and when it does, the twins usually just rush you out of the sleigh to take care of the necessities and then right back in again. Most of your meals are eaten on the road, and you're starting to get really, really tired of jerky and green crackers. At least Greip has some dried berries to mix things up a little. You almost hope that there's a feast when you get back, and even though you feel guilty for wanting it, you daydream for a minute or two about being curled up in Loki's lap at the head of the table. Right where I belong, where everyone can see that he's mine. Some insidious part of you whispers. Groaning in frustration, you rub your temples. This craving you have for him is weird. And you've never felt this way about any guy before, even in the throes of your worst crushes. This is nuts. He's hot, sure, and we've been through a lot together, but this is too soon. It hasn't even been a month, I think, and he's a total dick. It feels like it's been years. Gjalp hasn't mentioned the mate mark any, but she's been watching you like a hawk, and so has her sister. It's got you feeling even more jittery. What are they expecting? Do they think you're crazy or something? Or are they worried that Loki is going to get rid of you once you're back in Utgard? As the prospect of being back in the palace draws closer, you can't hold back any longer, so you finally ask, "What's going to happen when we get back to Utgard?" The twins share a look.
We do not know, Inanga. Loki is king of Jotunheim now, by blood and deed, so we can hope that things will remain peaceful. As long as Queen Farboti continues to support him, everything should be fine.
But what about me? Do you know? Has he said what's going to happen to me?
No. I assume that things will be the same as before. I cannot imagine that he would keep you anywhere but his own chambers, given your value.
My value as a person? Or does she mean my value as a pet? How is that going to work anyway, if he's planning on getting married? But then you remember what he said about wives having their own chambers, and your heart plummets even more. He wouldn't dare to keep you in his room, coming and going as he spends time with his wives, would he? You're aching and sore by the time your sleigh reaches Utgard, and you're in a pretty foul mood to top it all off. Everything hurts, and you've been jostling around in this stupid box for what feels like an eternity, tormented by your dreams of Loki, and his stupid mouth, and neck, and eyes. The twins usher you into the palace as the rest of the convoy begins to unpack, and you don't even manage to catch a glimpse of Loki. I want a bath. Can I take a bath? You grouse, too exhausted to care that you sound like a petulant little kid.
Of course. I could use one as well. Then we will find something to eat.
Something fresh, maybe?
I will see what I can do.
Once you've had your nice toasty steam bath and gotten dressed in a new change of clothes that Loki must have made for you, since they actually fit pretty well, the twins bring you back to their room. Your dinner mainly consists of some of the tuber things you've had before, thinly sliced and salted. If I try hard enough, maybe I can pretend that these are chips, you think. Unfortunately, that seems to be beyond the scope of your imagination. They're way too soggy. At least it's something other than that dried meat and soup. I'm so tired. Can I go to bed? You tell them, rubbing your back. The trip must have really done a number on you.
Yes. The king has not given us any instruction to keep you elsewhere, so we can take you back to his chamber, if you wish.
Greip says. The fact that she phrases it like a question, like they're giving you a choice, makes you smile. Yeah, that would be nice. There's a fire already burning in Loki's room when you get there, which is nice. They must have sent someone to freshen it up and get it ready for his return. The guards at the door give you the side eye when the twins let you into the room, but they don't say anything. Alone again. Naturally. Oh, God, what a depressing song to have pop into my head. You feel a little sick, and you figure it's probably from everything your poor body has been through over the past few weeks. Maybe it's from all of the emotional mess, too. Maybe it's a side effect of being kept under the influence of Loki's magic for weeks on end. Curling up on the bed, you burrow under as many blankets as possible. The bed smells like him, and while it makes you feel safe, it also fills you with a terrible sense of longing. Is he even going to come back here tonight? Is he going to come back ever? Or is he going to hide you away here and keep pretending that you don't exist? I can't live like that. You think, on the verge of tears. I can't. I'll beg him to send me home. I'll make him send me home.
Mortal?
Loki's face is right in front of yours, and his eyes are wide. You blink up at him, confused. Is this a dream? He starts peeling back blankets, and you roll up on your side, groggy. What?
The guards smelled blood. Now I do as well. It's yours.
A string of curses flies through your head as the realization hits hard, and you try to wrestle the blanket away from him. Stop! I'm fine.
But
The aching, the cramping, the exhaustion. I'm an idiot. I can't believe this happened. How long have we been here? Since you found me?
Almost 3 weeks.
He frowns, the blanket still in his hand. It's that time of the month, you say, heat flushing up your neck. Can you get a girl, please? Though, God only knows if the twins will be able to help. Do things work the same way for frost giants? Will they even know what to do? Even if they don't, it can't be any worse than having Loki staring down at you, his irritation visibly increasing by the second.
Month? What of the month?
Guess that's not an expression on Jotunheim. Or Asgard. The menstrual cycle? Loki cocks his head slightly. Okay, that's not working. Girl things? Just say it. For heaven's sake, you're a grown woman. Get it together. It's the female reproductive cycle. It's at that point in the cycle when I bleed. I'm sorry, I didn't realize...
Mortal women experience this monthly.
Loki looks at you like you're crazy. Oh my god, I keep forgetting that I've got a thing for an alien. Is that not a thing where you're from?
Not, no. It is very infrequent. Every few years at most.
He starts tugging on the blanket again.
Are you certain?
I'm certain. You wrap your arms around the blanket, hugging it to your chest, and Loki's frown deepens. Look, this is incredibly embarrassing, okay? Like, worst nightmare material.
Is that so? Worse than being trapped in Jotunheim? Worse than being my little mortal pet? Or facing Marnagar?
Yeah, it actually might be.
There is no reason to be bashful. I have some training as a healer, you know. I'm hardly appalled by the notion of blood.
Loki adds after a moment, finally releasing the blanket. Is he trying to be nice? You can't decide if that helps or hurts. Thanks. You're definitely certain now. The math adds up, and you're cramping pretty bad. Is Advil a thing here? Maybe a heating pad? I didn't exactly pack for the trip, so what am I going to use?
Calm down.
Loki crouches by the bedside, his hand on your knee. He looks like he wants to say something, but he's struggling to find the words.
I'll send one of the twins to you. You, in pain?
Yeah, kind of, but I can deal with it. He just looks at you in silence for another awkward moment, and then he sighs.
I will return later tonight to check on you.
Don't act like you actually care.
But I do. You know that I do.
He actually has the nerve to look hurt, and you want to shove him away. Loki stands, fidgeting with his fingers.
You barely know me, mortal. If you did, you would understand that I'm acting in your best interests, not only my own. You agreed to trust me, did you not? Trust me now.
A lot has happened since then.
I suppose.
He looks like he's going to say something else, but then he shakes his head.
I will be back. Rest. Try not to dwell on the things that you cannot change.
Somehow, when he leaves, you feel even worse than before. It takes some convincing to get Gjalp and Greip to understand that things on Earth are different and that you aren't actually dying. Apparently, it's something that they've only had to deal with a handful of times in their entire lives, so they seem pretty baffled at the idea of it being a semi-regular occurrence. You can't help but feel a little bit jealous. You're absolutely mortified, but they're nice enough about it. They help you get everything cleaned up and taken care of, although they're a little perplexed at the fact that they're supposed to bring you back to Loki's room.
Usually at such times, a woman stays in a room apart. It is considered polite.
Well, I'm a human. I'm guessing nobody's too worried about my manners, you know?
True enough, Inanga.
There are fresh blankets on the bed by the time you get back. In a weird way, it kind of sucks, because you miss the Loki smell, even if you don't want to admit it. Curling up, you rub your stomach a few times, wishing that you had something fizzy to drink. Sanitary products on Jotunheim are apparently several decades behind those on Earth, so you basically had to belt some cloth monstrously around your waist. It really doesn't help with your misery. You consider waiting up for Loki, but eventually you give up. Besides, with how he's been acting lately, he might not even show up. The fire burns low, and the night grows colder. Burrowing deeper under the blankets, you fall asleep. The bed dips, and you stir as the covers are pulled aside.
Shh. It's only me. Sleep.
You squint over your shoulder. In the dark, you can barely make him out. The discomfort is strong and sharp. You wonder if the cold is making it worse. I don't feel good.
I know.
Loki pauses for a moment, and you bury your face back into the covers and curl up more tightly. Maybe if you go to sleep, you'll feel better when you wake up. The blankets move again, and you feel him slide into the bed behind you, curving against your back. He's warm. It feels good, and you sigh in relief. The tunic you're wearing is loose, and he pulls it up, placing a hand on your bare belly. That feels good too.
You'll be fine. Sleep.
He's gone when you wake up the next morning, and if it wasn't for the scent of him still clinging to you, you might have thought that you had only dreamt it.